So I see the world as my home. And the goal with the school is that my own life's mission is to end poverty from planet Earth, and also starting from Pakistan, where we make on per capita income is $1,000 a year. US is $45,000 a year. Singapore is $55,000 a year, just to give a comparison. Silicon Valley is $110,000 a year. So we are 110 times behind as a country from Silicon Valley. Our official language is English. 60% of the people cannot read and write anything in any language, and 27 million students don't go to any school. And then we produce 7 million humans every year. That's 22,000 a day. I don't come from an education background. I have no idea how the school should look like, but I do know how the people should look like, how the world will look like. And that's what I'm trying to give in my school. I'm not trying to educate them with physics, chemistry, sciences, biology, because I think it has already changed.
All right, so I'm here with Rehan, a education innovator from Pakistan, and I had the pleasure.
So I see the world as my home. And the goal with the school is that my own life's mission is to end poverty from planet Earth, and also starting from Pakistan, where we make on per capita income is $1,000 a year. US is $45,000 a year. Singapore is $55,000 a year, just to give a comparison. Silicon Valley is $110,000 a year. So we are 110 times behind as a country from Silicon Valley. Our official language is English. 60% of the people cannot read and write anything in any language, and 27 million students don't go to any school. And then we produce 7 million humans every year. That's 22,000 a day. There are 110,000 plus schools which charge less than $5 a month as tuition fees as a school. So the cost of living is really low. So if somebody were to come to Pakistan and establish a school, they can do a phenomenal job, Harvard quality, for $200 a month. There is better than Harvard quality school available in Lahore, outside Lahore. It's a 500-acre space where they have horse riding, they have anything on planet Earth you can think of, with accommodation and everything, for $200 a month, including food. So, and this is a high school, and it's amazingly gorgeous. It's called Chand Bagh, meaning the garden of the moon. It's really amazing. So we have these pockets of disruptions around the planet, and this is one of them. Um, so our school is focused on finding a new methodology for teaching in the post AI era. How should the school look like in the post AI era? What should we teach our students when everything you want to know is an Alexa away, is a chat GPT away. Everything you want to learn in any way you want to learn is available through AI. So why do we need the sim? How should it look like? We don't really know how it should look like. So I'm out there looking to find out how it should look like. That's goal number one. The goal number two is we're a poor country, so I want to make the country's per capita 5x. So I tried 20 years with adults, it didn't work so well. Now I want to focus on the young ones. And in our school, our students at sixth grade, we take them at fifth grade. In sixth grade, they need to earn $100 a month. Seventh, they need to earn $200 a month, and eighth grade, $500 a month, and we call them our partners. So whatever they earn, 50% goes to the school, 50% goes to them. When this model works, the school which earns $5 a month can now charge $100 a month, $250 a month, not charge but make. And at the same time, the parents and the child are earning so much more money. And this is all practical education, stuff which you will learn after you graduate school or college or university. And so it's a very intense, it sounds intense, but I think education itself is very intense. There's so much pressure. Oh, we can't go anywhere because there's exams. We can't take vacation. Our kids are going to school. So this is also intense, and it's supposed to allow these young adults to solve a problem for a million people before they graduate high school, make $1 million before they graduate high school, and be in the Guinness Book of World Record before they graduate high school. That's a very People say it's a high bar, but I think it's a norm. It should be normal because all mothers say my child is amazing. So why isn't that your child amazing child in the Guinness Book of World Records? So that's the second goal, and the third goal is, we know how to invent dentists, we know how to invent doctors, we know how to not invent, like create them, and engineers, rocket ship designers, astronauts. Where's the school for next Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or Richard Branson by design? Or Edison by design, not by accident. These all people, they're just come by accident. You go to a dental school, you come out as a dentist. I want a school where you put in a child, a Bill Gates comes out, a Richard Branson comes out, a Steve Jobs comes out. So this is what I'm trying to figure out. And all the ingredients which all these people had, all the successful, phenomenal people we call outliers, what did they have? So we're trying to put that in the school, the discipline which they need. We need we didn't have this kind of armies before. Now we know how to make an army cadet or army officer or army journal by design, not by accident. So why don't we have a school for a president by design, a secretary of state by design, a minister, prime minister by design? That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, amazing. So whenever these children are making this money at such a young age, what types of work are they doing?
Freelancing, graphic designing, video editing. One of my kids just messaged me, I got 1 million views on my video view. Thank you. It was like, he got a reel which got 1 million hits in 3 days. That's amazing. I don't think I've ever had a reel which had 1 million views in my lifetime.
Right.
But this kid who was 13 or 12, he made this video and he got 1 million views out of it. So, um, yeah.
Are you monetizing YouTube or using some of the online platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, things like that?
So we're really new.
Mhm.
We're 2 years in the schooling, and my monetization part has not been my primary objective right now
Okay.
because I want them to really be good at the computing part, the AI part, the learning part, the video editing part. I've been focused on getting them to do the work.
Yeah.
Once they're good, like this guy is now good at it, now I will focus on the earning part. So we have a stream from Fiverr, Upwork, freelancing directly. We're making our own freelancing market for the kids, so that we can say, here's a kid you can hire. We're making intern marketplace, so you can hire an intern, so that you can choose the kid, very quickly. Um, so I think that streams would be internships, low end jobs, and then and all for 3 hours a day. So I don't want these kids to work more than 3 hours a day as a job or as an internship because they're kids.
Right.
They need to play and they need to be a kid.
Right.
So, but 3 hours a day should make them enough money, and we want to scale them up so that within 3 hours they make all this kind of money. And then when they're 18, we help them start a startup. We have this concept of the wala, or like a smith, where we have 100 problems in the country we want to solve, and each student is given a problem, and then we add that problem as, for example, a water smith, an electric smith, a roof smith, um, and then they have to study that problem through a TEDx video every day for 200 times a year. And then they have to make a video and explaining what they understood and write an article about it, and then contact that person who gave that TEDx and try to get a podcast with them. So they end up getting 200 podcasts a year with a specialist in that field, which makes them kind of a specialist because all their news feeds will change, their concentration, their focus will change, their mentorship will change. We don't know how to solve these problems, but these people do. So I want them to be connected with those people. And then when they're in ninth grade, they start a startup in that space and then try to scale it so that they can sell it for at least $1 million.
Okay. Um, is your primary focus for their jobs in the local economy, or is it out in the world? Now that we have access to the internet, what's the primary focus, or do you not care about that? You just let them kind of figure it out?
So any problem they want to become a smith of, it has to be with at least 10 million people on the planet.
Okay.
And your target is, out of that 10 million, you at least help 1 million people. So take a large enough problem so that you can easily reach the million mark. It can be 100 million people problem, it can be 10 million people problem, and then you solve that. Housing can be one, homelessness can be one, education can be one, anything you can think of. There's a lot of services which are in the US and are not, or in Pakistan, and there are a lot of services which are in Pakistan which are not in the US. So they can start companies here or there or whatever. It's 2 years ahead of us. So we don't know what kind of AI will arrive by then and allow us to do or not to do. Some people say we'll have AGI. We don't know what's going to happen. So we're taking it a little 3 months at a time kind of thing.
Yeah, in America, AI is kind of a concern to a lot of people. It will be taking over coding jobs and even some higher level work. So I've seen a big emphasis here on what's called boring jobs or boring businesses, lawn care,
Blue collar job.
blue collar jobs,
Yeah.
air conditioning, things like that. Is there a similar economy in Pakistan where there's those types of blue collar jobs that create opportunities in
Blue
Pakistan?
collar jobs create, but they will earn you within our country no more than $200 a month,
Okay.
unless you create an Uber for plumbers or unless you create a Uber for roof people. Yes, that will create $1 million for you. But if you were to become a plumber yourself, you would not make enough money to match our goals. Um, we have a lot of over 3,000 institutes who create blue collar jobs. The whole country is designed around low-end jobs. But the high-end jobs or bigger thinkers, they don't exist. They leave the country or they think it's kind of hard. That's what my focus is.
Okay. So your overall focus is trying to get those higher level jobs into Pakistan.
Not jobs, but
Yeah.
problem solvers.
Problem
Like,
solvers,
right,
yeah.
we need more Ubers. We need to find the roof guy, the plumber, the electrician in one click, rather than, oh my God, I can't seem to find a plumber. Why can't we find a plumber? Just like we couldn't find a taxi before, now there's a taxi.
Yeah.
And now similarly, there's other verticals which it's harder to find. So I have parallelly started another incubator for jobs where I want to incubate 100 to 1,000 startups just focused on jobs, because I think 2 billion people around the world will disrupt, this AI will disrupt billions of people, not millions of people. People who don't adapt, people who don't change, it will disrupt them phenomenally. So I think that we will need to, I mean, I don't think Indeed and Monsters and all these people will be able to adapt fast enough, because they're making money, they're comfortable. So we'll need to start startups where you focus on roofing only people, teachers only, schools only. I mean, all the verticals need their own portal for jobs because they're similar, but they're not the same. So maybe we'll have a website like Uber Eats just for tacos, just focused on tacos. So it's a very specialized market. It's a problem with 100 million people. They like tacos. So why isn't there a website just for taco people? Yeah, it'll make $1 million. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Specializations.
Yeah.
More specializations.
It's more niche.
More niche.
Okay. As far as AI, how are you kind of using that right now, and how do you see that in the future?
So AI, as a lot of people call it, is electricity. It's going to be ubiquitous like the internet. It's going to be there. It's right now it's a lot of hype. So we say it's the first AI first school in the world, because it is, because nobody has taken out everything and put in AI first. So what does that mean? It means that if AI can do it, don't work on it. If there's electricity, why are you trying to
Crank the generator.
yeah. So that's a mentality. Like, for example, a lot of people are suspicious and not liking AI. If you work with AI, so if you were an engineer and you were to invent a car which goes 20% better with gasoline, that'll be phenomenal. And 20 years ago, you'll probably get a Nobel or Peace Prize for that, because you save so much energy in the world. But with AI, you can rethink everything and you can go not 20%, 1,000% better because it has the knowledge of every human being ever published any paper, be it chemistry, physics, everything. You click on deep learning and you say, reinvent me an engine which does 1,000 kilometers a gallon, and boom, it's there. Fine, it doesn't work first time, but that's the kind of imagination which will help us go to the stars. That's the imagination that will create Star Trek. With normal thinking, we're just going slow, slow, slow. Now with AI, you can really think 1000x. People were thinking 1.2x. This is a groundbreaking everything. So when if you see Elon Musk, he just explained that in his car, he recreated how the car should look like. So he created this mold for the base of the car. And he somehow found 768 components in the car which were useless. And that has been happening for 100 years. Similar thing in education. When we ask an educator, a typical educator, he will bring in AI or YouTube teaching the same stuff which we don't need anymore. That's the challenge of most educators, that what should we do, because they come from an education academic background. That's what they know. I don't come from an education background. I have no idea how the school should look like, but I do know how the people should look like, how the world will look like. And that's what I'm trying to give in my school. I'm not trying to educate them with physics, chemistry, sciences, biology, because I think that it has already changed. And if they really need to learn that, I think within 6 months to a year time, there will be an AI which will literally make a documentary on the fly for us about anything we want to learn. The Alexa would be able to explain to us in a 5-year-old manner or a PhD manner or a very innocent manner. And the learning process has evolved, is changed, but unfortunately the regular school systems are unable to even comprehend what's going on. And it's just because the technology is just faster than anything else. And maybe that's my challenge. I'm too fast. I'm trying to do too many forward thinking too early, and that's been my problem all my life.
Right.
But I think that's the right thing to do. Somebody has to do it, and I might not succeed. Like, I was watching a interview with Eric Schmidt yesterday. He was explaining where he was working in this organization. Apparently, they say Steve Jobs stole stuff from that organization, and he stole a mouse from the HP or Xerox. But somebody invented it, and then he had to reframe it in a way where masses could use it. So my purpose in life has always been, I am one of the innovators, and then somebody comes in and takes it in a better way and scales it.
Right.
So I have given up on trying to scaling it and becoming the Steve Jobs. I'm probably the Xerox guy who'll invent something and somebody will come in and copy it, and I'm fine with that. If I could do it, that's great. If I cannot, that's fine. But at least I will know I tried my best in giving value to, in my art, in my whatever I'm creating.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story. I worked at a place called Human Code
Hmm.
in the internet 1.0, before the internet bust of
Hmm.
that .com bust. And I I discovered, streaming video, and I was probably too early on that as well. Because I would keep asking everybody in the company, like, hey, we need to do streaming video. And they were like, no, we'll never have the bandwidth to stream video. It'll always be just choppy little videos and stuff. It'll never be professional. um, I think my mistake there, because I was a professional animator, so I was thinking of filmmaking and professional filmmakers and things like that, using that as a distribution system. I was like, oh, this is a free distribution system. We don't have to worry about the distributors anymore, or
You're way ahead of your time.
the producers. And but the thing I got wrong was YouTube. When I saw YouTube, I was like, oh, these are people just putting up their home videos. And I didn't realize that they were reinventing uh, filmmaking and television, and these were normal people. These were not people with higher level educations, high level skills. Like I was trained in 2D animation, and that's a very high level skill. So I thought it was for us, right? But then what happened, it wasn't for us, it was for normal people that just had a lot of great ideas and just started putting things out there. So that's where I kind of shifted my attention to, like, okay, just give them, the people, the freedom, and they'll reinvent, these new ways of doing things.
Hmm.
Um, and what that took me to was like, okay, let's go back to the early animators, like where there was no textbook, there was no courses, there was no,
Walt Disney.
yeah, there was nothing. They just had to invent it as they went along.
Hmm.
So now what happened with YouTube and streaming video is we have all these new conventions. Some of them are just strange, but they have audiences, and there's a whole internet culture that has emerged from just that freedom to create. Um, so I think AI is probably going to be a little bit like that. We'll figure it out. It's a tool. Some people don't like the idea that it's just a tool that we're going to use. They think it's robots going to take over our lives.
Yeah.
But people, I see people right now kind of innovating. They're making full blown videos, Hollywood quality almost. Um, so I
And it's
think,
just starting.
yeah, and I think the same things are going to happen with education. I think you just give the people the tools and just wait to see what happens. You probably won't even understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of my goal with my school too, is just like opening it up, giving them the tools to problem solve and change directions and think. Um, and I think it will all sort itself out because that's what humans do.
Right
So
on. I
yeah,
think you're right, and I really admire your passion for what you're doing. I think you don't really, I mean, you hope for the results, but you're not stressed about it,
yeah,
and you're letting it happen and take its own time. And I think that's the way innovation does happen. You don't know which garage it'll start from. I don't know where it'll start from. I already pointed out the goals which I have, which are problems I want to solve. I have seen magic happens over my lifetime. People just show up and they give you stuff or it's done, and so life is a very interesting experience of stuff happening to you, and you just do your path. And there's a quote by Rumi which I love, that when you walk on the path appears. So you just walk and do your thing, and
yeah,
something interesting happen. I really like your energy, and I really admire your passion for what you're doing. When I asked you, if I give you $10 million, what would you do? You just said, I'll invest in my schools, which means that you're really, really passionate on what you're doing, and you know what you're doing. Even if it doesn't work, you're still going to do it.
yeah,
And that's very, very few people in the world do that. They're like distracted by so many other things. So kudos to you.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, like PhD in failure is what most artists have. Like they have to fail so much just to get to a certain level.
Mm.
It's like a skateboarder. He's going to fall 1,000 times before he does his trick. Um, so trusting in the people. I think that's trusting in the students. To show you the way. Because when I first started the school, I had some core lessons that I did, and there were some amazingly talented, students, and then they started doing things that I do, and I was like, no, 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 because they were already amazing, and I realized that I was actually taking them off track a little bit. So I started giving that a little bit more freedom. I still taught them the principles, but I didn't teach them specifics. Um, I'm just trying to pave the way for them so they don't have to go through as many obstacles as I did, um, but then let them grow and actually flourish, with their own skills and their own um, desires and the things that they want to do. And I found that to be a much more powerful way to educate, people, is to basically just get out of the way.
I think so
uh,
too.
so, well,
Give a boundary, playground, and then do with your thing.
yeah, there's principles. We go back to the core principles of humanity. I was telling one of your colleagues about Booker T. Washington. He was a slave um, in early America, and he created a school. So he went from slave to um, to I don't know what the vocation would be, but he went to he became an educator. He created the Tuskegee Institute. Um, the students built the school with bricks that they made, um, and when he was finished with his first classes, he had created more millionaires than Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. Um,
Have to look them up.
and yeah, and but in his book, you'll see that there are some principles that are universal for success. He didn't play politics. He didn't care about politics. He knew that if his students could create value for somebody else, then they would succeed because you could not deny them. So I think that universal principle of creating value works anywhere. So I like to try to pare down whatever thinking I have to the bare basics. If it's a universal principle, then it'll probably work everywhere. And there is a principle for success like that. Just creating value, I think, is the main thing. So sorry, I'm babbling now. So
No, then I think you're really creating value for these students, and I hope that, as we talked last time, that your school will become the school which produces the next Steven Spielbergs by design, not by accident.
Yeah, and I see the same thing at your school as well. So,
Yeah.
Is there any final comments that you want to?
No, I'm really happy to have met you in Austin, and keep up the great work. Do more podcasts so I can subscribe, and invite me again.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.